Hi, everyone, and welcome to Truth Camp. I'm your host, Crystal Giznichek, with my co-host and wife, Sarah. We believe that there is something you can learn from everyone and want to help share these truths to help inspire and motivate. Thank you for spending time with us today. Now let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Truth Camp. This week features my nasally voice, my lovely wife, Mr. Butter Biscuits, and the lovely Devin Ashmore. Yay!
What's up, everybody?
Insert clapping. Yes, so we're nasally.
I don't have that ability.
What, to clap?
And to insert clapping.
We can just clap.
Maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, we'll
just
figure
joking.
it out.
Yes, we're all nasally today because it was, 58 on Thursday and then plummeted 30 degrees. And I don't know, it's fucking cold and nasty outside. So here we are, and that's what we were just talking about.
I'm super nasally. Got that drip,
now.
not the good kind.
Well, you said it felt like spring, and I'm so glad that you said it because I felt the same way, and people were looking at me like I was crazy.
You could smell it in the air, and it was just the way the sun even felt. I was like, it's time to wake up.
I sat out there, and I thought the same thing you did, Dave. I was like, oh, maybe it's time to start doing a couple things. And I was like, no, it's fucking the end of January. We can't do these things.
I'm not kidding. I literally, in my head, I was saying, oh man, summer is on it. It's January. You still have all of February. March isn't great.
Yeah, no, summer is not on its way. However, when summer is on its way, we'll talk about this first because we get so excited, and we've talked about it so many times with other guests, the Cove Market.
Oh, yeah. The Cove Market.
So
Woo-hoo!
Devin is the brainchild of said Cove Market, and I was just asking you what your plans are for next year. Putting you on the spot.
I know. So I just need to double check with Parks and Rec. I think it went good last season. They didn't really say much of anything, so I'm thinking it's good to go. I just kind of need to check in. And I've been thinking about it this week, probably because it was warming up, and I was like, oh, Cove Market, shit. It's tomorrow. No, it's only January. Calm down. But yes, my plan is to have it again, and hopefully it grows to be even bigger and better. And yeah, I'm excited. Last year, I talked to Brittany a little bit about breath work, and I'm just, maybe this will be the first time she hears it, unless I text her right after this and remember. But instead of just always having yoga, have other things as well, because it seems that breath work, especially, is so much more accessible to people if they're not really sure about moving their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the whole point about, well, there's a lot of points about yoga, but to me, the main point is about regulating the breath and moving the body to move out energy, and that's what breath work does. So, if we can get that to more people, good.
I find that there are a lot of people that have an aversion to yoga, whether it's they feel like they can't move, or a sensory issue with the way their body feels, or they think that they can't do it. So, I mean, you being a yoga instructor, and for those listening, how many years have you been instructing yoga now? You can include informal as well.
Yeah, Anawa is 5, and I got my yoga teacher training when I was pregnant with her. So,
wow.
A solid 5 years, yeah.
So you're probably one of the more advanced people in the area too. I didn't realize you.
Yeah, there's only I think a few of us that have been doing it that long, or have done any of their advanced training, which I'm pretty much done. But I kind of got to this point over this past year of just kind of needing to take a step back, because it was what's the point? I don't know. I was running my financial, it was draining. I felt like yoga, even with all the knowledge that I was having at that point, it wasn't necessarily paying the bills as a full-time thing. It was I just needed to shift my energy and figure out what I needed to be doing. Not so much. There we go. There we go. Hey,
little
baby. Okay.
Daddy
No, I was
came
like-
out and said you're being naughty.
I like that. I like
Listen.
masculine leadership. That's good. Thank you.
We need that
That's
first
my new
shirt.
thing,
We need
masculine
We need
leadership.
that first shirt for Dave. Masculine leadership. That's perfect.
I think it sounds terrible. I feel like I'd be mildly embarrassed to wear that.
Well, maybe you could just, wear it in the house.
Just in the house.
I feel like, we're coming from a place of love with that, but other people would probably be like, oh yeah, masculine leadership.
Masculine leadership, my ass.
Oh, look at this guy. Look at this
the
guy
hell are
defines
you?
himself as masculine because he goes to the gym.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so the yoga.
Well, I think
Good
the
old
yoga community in general, like, it's kind of intimidating for people who aren't in it, like, because there's so much to it. Like, I know, like, if you
There's
say
a
the
lot.
wrong term to someone who's like real into yoga, like, they're like real particular, I feel like. But I don't think this area, like, you see it firsthand. Do you feel like a lot of people are kind of like more and just they want it like beginner kind of like?
Yeah,
or,
but also no. So,
Okay.
like, let's just get into my opinion about
Yes,
this area.
That's what we're here for.
So, like, I had lived in Pittsburgh for, like, 7 years. I'm very, like, not to be extreme, like, okay, obviously, I'm not the most politically correct person, but I do think, like, when we're doing things for, like, that are other cultures and we're borrowing, that we do need to be mindful of, like, kind of, yeah, saying the right thing and making sure that we're, like, honoring what's helping us so much, because it's not even ours. Like, we're taking something that's, like, a brown person's culture and using it. So, like, not to say that, you need to be using Sanskrit all the time. I didn't even freaking learn it. We didn't have to in mine. Like, we learned it, but we didn't get tested on it. If I don't get tested on something that I have to remember, like terminology, I'm not remembering. Like, if it's even anatomy stuff, I can't tell you, like, what that muscle's called, but I can tell you, like, what it's doing right now, that's just how I am. I feel fine with that. But I just feel like, okay, yoga and breath work. Breath work is like, oh, I'm working my breath. Yoga, it's like, oh, that's like an Indian thing. Like, isn't it religious as well? Like, there's all this stuff that starts to go on in the head when you hear the word yoga. Bases.
Versus. There you go.
I was like, what was that? Versus breath work. But breath work is like, even though there's like all these different, what's it called? That, the breath work around here that they're doing, elemental breath work.
Yeah.
Like, those styles of breathing of each one, like that, those are ancient breath work techniques of the yogis. It's put in a specific pattern. So it's like, even that is yoga. That is all the way, the Vedas are like the most ancient, religious like texts in general. So it's like, if we want to get down to like the deepest depths of like the ancient spiritual shit, like, it's in there. So like, for me, like, when I started teaching in this area and like wanting to be, which I feel like a lot of people in Pittsburgh, it's like any city, like, be politically correct, do this, do that. It's just a little more forward thinking. Like, I just feel like people will look at yoga like as an exercise class, and if you don't do it that way, they think it's like culty. Like, they're like, oh my god, you say namaste at the end, which I don't even do anymore, because there's all this shit about that now too. Like, if you're not saying it in the beginning, why are you saying it at the end? And do you even know what it means? But these are questions that we should be asking and thinking about, and just each practitioner should be deciding on their own what they should be doing with that. Like, but I don't know. I just feel like also people are like, oh, I need it to be beginner, but then they want to be pushed, but then they don't want to be pushed. It's like, oh my god, how the hell am I supposed to teach?
Well,
Like,
they probably want to do like, well, this is boring. I want to do this pose. I want to do the fun poses. How do I learn how to do this? And that's like, you're like, well, that's really fucking advanced.
right.
Do you find it hard then to like market it towards like a variety, or do you learn to kind of adapt when you're in the class with, like, if some people were a little more beginner, some are more advanced?
I feel like the whole time I taught, I was always trying to like cater to the beginner, which is good. It taught me so much. It gave me I have so much more of a respect for how to do slow flow and how to really honor the body. Like, I feel that I am stronger, well, not right now, but whenever I was actively teaching, like, I was stronger when I was going slow than whenever I was constantly doing vinyasa and like ashtanga, like all the like heavy like power yoga stuff. Because when you're doing that stuff, you don't even really have time to feel what's going on in your body if you're doing one breath per movement. Like, it's just, at that point, it's kind of similar to whenever you pack your body with oxygen and breath work and you get that high. Like, when people leave a yoga class, it's like a power yoga, and they have this yoga high. Actually, you're just a little hyperventilated. Like, you're not really supposed to feel that way, at least from yoga, because there is movement. Like, breath work is really meant to be done when you're still, because you really shouldn't be like holding your breath or like breathing too hard while moving. But aside from that, I just went off on a little tangent. Yeah, I felt like I had to make sure everything was very beginner friendly. I felt like I kind of had to tiptoe a little bit, and then when I wouldn't, it was like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. All I know is like I feel like I would try to make things really difficult. Not like try to make them difficult, but not beginner.
Make them challenging.
Make it challenging.
Yeah.
Do more vinyasa, have more flow, be more creative, do this, do that, try to add the spiritual touch, make people think, blah, 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 blah. It was like over the top just to try to get people to stay coming to my class.
Yeah.
I know that's maybe not the case for everybody, but I do know for a lot of us, especially in this area, that is the case. And when you think you're doing something for your business or you're doing some, to make your money, like, you do need to niche down. Mm-hmm. So how the hell do I niche down when I'm over here just trying to please everybody so that I can at least like make ends meet?
But also for you, like, I love that you are respectful of the practice and who it comes from and where it comes from and honoring that. Whereas in this area, the bulk demographic of who you're going to have coming to your yoga classes, those women don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck, and they're annoyed that you even say it.
Yeah, they're like, I just want to do my yoga class so that I can go drink wine with my friends and, we can talk about how much we hate our husbands and our kids aren't bothering us and we're happy. Like, that's whatever. That's how that's the demographic, whatever.
Fucking Catholics.
And then there's that aspect where, well, I'm going there. You have something that has been around for forever, longer than your little book club. And then people are like, it's the devil. We can't do yoga because it's the devil. Where the fuck do you think your religion got its ideas from?
Yeah. And it's like literally these practices, if we're being technical, is to become one with God.
Yes.
If we do want to go on the more spiritual realm, like, that is what you're trying to do. You're clearing your body so that you can be a good channel, so that you are able to connect up with God better. You can't do that. I mean, that's an energy, God might manifest down here, like, they're like, anybody could be Jesus. They could, not to like make that joke, but like, I remember as a kid being like, I wonder if that homeless man is Jesus, just because like, they're like, you never know where he is.
He's always homeless.
Tell me you had the Catholic influence. Yeah, like, be nice to that homeless man. You don't know, that could be Jesus.
You mean a guy that just tried to kidnap that kid?
That could be Jesus. He's trying to teach us a lesson.
He's saving that kid.
He's saving him.
Oh my God. Love it.
But we've like kind of had this discussion like on here and like in our own personal lives where these sacred and spiritual practices, where does cultural appropriation fall into this, and how do you honor it in the proper ways, and how are you just not being a culture vulture? Yeah, because that's something like crystals and stuff, like, it's become super mainstream again and super cool, and how are you honoring things in the right way? How are you being educated in the right way? Yoga, breath work, the whole spiritual reawakening, like the spiritual renaissance, as I heard it referred to as.
What I think is like with that is honoring like what you do know and where you're at. Like, well, this is what I know. When it comes to crystals, I only sell the ones I know something about. And if for some reason I like got an order of something that was like, these are cool, I'm not really sure what they do, when people ask me about it, that's what I say. Like, you know, I think in the same thing with yoga and breath work, like if you're like if someone asks you a question, just like really honor like where you are now. And I feel like when it comes to culture vulturing, like, oh my God, I can only imagine what some people even think of me. Like, you know, there's always going to be somewhere out there that's going to be saying that you're being a culture vulture, this or that. You just need to make sure that like you feel like in your own integrity. And that's like, you know.
And I think constantly educating yourself, like, I mean, we have to admit, like, we're sitting in a position of privilege. We're all white. We know what we know. So I think if you continue to make strides to educate yourself and then just like admitting fault where, you know, where you have a fault, like, hey, you know, I used to burn sage, but now I realize like there's other things that I should probably burn rather than sage. And like, this is why. And as long as you want to make the effort to educate yourself and do better, then I think, you know, I mean, maybe I'm not the authority on that, but I think that's okay.
God. You're bringing, I have a story about sage that's so funny. In the, I was in Pittsburgh with a little market and this girl comes by and I had rosemary, I had cedarwood. I don't think I had any Palo Santo or sage. I did buy it, and I did buy it from like a, you know, it's a sustainably sourced, all that bullshit. Not that it's bullshit, but you know, I'm like, I checked all that stuff out. And she was like going on and on about like, I'm so happy that you don't have those things. And I was like, well, they're coming actually. She was so mad. She was like,
What's wrong with sage and Palo Santo?
So they're sacred plants that are being over harvested, and like it's just like it takes a really long time for like the white sage to grow. Like I was looking it up. I feel like it takes like 3 years or something crazy of growing it before you can even harvest it. So it was like there's all these same thing with Palo Santo though, right? I mean, that's wood, like trees to like to harvest off trees, like whoa.
So you know? The demand because of the Renaissance is just too much, and it's destroying that.
And it's with the culture.
Yeah, closed practices within cultures. But some of that, and like, trust me, please correct me if I am being ignorant in this. It just seems like every single thing, like when you're on this spiritual journey, you're drawn to different things and you want to get into different things, and there's pitfalls along the way, but you know, you're trying different things, and that's where it's up to you to educate. But like you see something and you're like, oh, I want to try that. And then it's like, I can't because, you know, whatever. Or, oh, I want to go and attempt to do this, or, you know, I want to do peyote. No, you can't, you shouldn't, you know. But I believe in being respectful to the boundaries that have been set by, you know, groups of people who use those. But it's just be gentle with people too. Like now, if someone walked up to you and you were like, they're like, oh, I'm so happy you don't have to, you're like, I don't, but I'm gonna use it and I don't give a fuck, blah blah. Then then whatever. But if it's someone just gently educating and being like, hey, maybe instead of sage and Palo Santo, you try this, and then people will go, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I will.
And I do try to nudge people in that direction. I'm like, definitely like go for like sage and Palo Santo if that's what you want. However, like even the way that I use it now, because I still use them both, it's just for like specific things. Like it's not like an everyday use type thing. It's like if I am like maybe new mooning or full mooning, doing something at my ancestral altar, like, you know, just something that's like I'm about to get in like ritual for seriousness here, like I want to really get it going. But like I personally really prefer, I love like just burning cinnamon sticks and rosemary. Like those two are super protective, they're cleansing. You know, cinnamon draws in abundance. Like why wouldn't you want to burn something that draws abundance in, you know?
And that's where, like, when you dip your toe into it, the first things that you see are sage and Palo Santo to burn. It's not until you deep dive and then you get into it. And I think in this area, which I've started, like, dabbling in, is, like, we're in Appalachian territory. So there's so much, like, we have our own, I mean, and Appalachian people have been around for so long. There's so much history within spiritual practices within the Appalachian people.
And
so
why not do what the people of this land actually did?
Yeah, and like probably were descendants of, and like the closest descendants of, like your people were from Appalachia. So we have so many things at our disposal. But again, like I get it too. Like you go to TJ Maxx and you see your little Palo Santo bundle and you're like, I want to do that because so-and-so did
so
that.
hard for me, the TJ Maxx bundles and crystals. And
Well, I like looking at the crystals in there and they're just dyed.
oh, yeah.
Or
like-
it's, they're marketing it as like citrine and it's just like burnt amethyst. Or it's marketed as like something else and it's like fluorite, calcite crystals. And they're like, this is
Yeah,
whatever. Beautiful aquamarine. No, the fuck. It's not.
This is actually concrete.
It's actually I actually just found this rock in my creek behind my house. And
You probably could. I'm sure there's people that do that. Well, I've seen the videos from like the gem shows, the big gem shows, and some of the shit that they said, they're like, yeah, this is resin. Like they're saying it's resin. Or like it just looks like hunks of concrete and they're like, this is meteorite or something. And people buy it. I mean, whatever. Where there's a market, I suppose, go off.
I guess.
But whatever.
But, also, we're literally... I guess that's actually a better thing. I mean, it's kind of shitty that they're, like, swindling people, but, like, at least they're not taking shit from, they're not over-mining, which we know is happening because of crystals. So, like, I see when, like, some stuff, I forget where I saw it, someone on Instagram, I don't think it was around here, but they got, like, these really, like, rare crystals in, and I'm just like... They're like, they couldn't even find them again, and here they are, or something. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, would you not mine something that it took you years to find more to mine? Like, isn't that...
No, capitalism, baby.
No,
We need to
never.
make that money.
Yeah,
It's so
because
important.
actually the worst mining that takes place, both like basically slavery and everything, is the stuff that goes into our phones.
Which is quartz, right? Just quartz crystal?
No, there's other stuff. There's,
well,
I
other
mean,
stuff,
but
but-
I was just watching a brief thing about it, and it's like the worst thing happening in the world.
That and like diamond mining.
Yeah.
Both of those together. I mean, it's child slave labor. I mean, that's a whole other fucking thing. Buy the goddamn lab created diamonds. And diamonds are not fucking popular because they're the best in the fucking world. Look it up. It was a De Beers campaign, I think in the 50s.
Yeah, it's all marketing.
It's all fucking marketing, but whatever. That's a whole other thing. We're not going to talk about that.
I forget what they're mining for the phones, but it's also highly toxic. So every time these guys hit a hammer into the rock, they're poisoning themselves.
Well, didn't they shut down the export of that? Or they're trying to shut down the export of that?
Not as far as I know. The last podcast I watched on it was like the guy's specialty, and I didn't get to watch the full episode, just like 20 minutes, but he was just there recording it. It was the first time there's ever been filming of it, and he just snuck in to do it.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. We'll like wash over that very quickly because we have to have our new iPhones every year.
Including everybody in this room.
Actually, I'm happy to say ours are older.
Mine also is.
Older.
I don't know how old it is, but
Until those updates come and kill our phone.
Yeah.
I know.
try not to.
Literally. It's like, you know what? We're just gonna it's not gonna work
Yeah,
anymore.
like I've had this phone for about 2 years now. I'm not doing any more updates. So they're going to kill it.
Yep.
Fuckers.
So how did you get into crystals and doing tarot card reading?
Yes, that was what I was going to ask.
Oh. So crystals kind of just happened because, okay, you get into spirituality, like that's kind of how it happened. Like at the time, it was Anoa's dad actually who took me to my first crystal shop, which he didn't seem like a guy that would know where that shit is. He's like into sports, like, into hip hop, things like that. But like, I told him that from yoga, and then like, I was actually around. It was super weird. You get opened up to spirituality, and all the fucking weirdness just comes out of the woodwork. All the energies, though. So I was actually talking to this dude that was like a Satanist because I was fascinated. I was like,
"Yes,
"What's that? Tell me more. Tell me more." I'm like, "I want to know all about this." And it was very intriguing, but like I feel like he was trying to, because me and Adam at the time were like on a off time, so he was trying to like impress me and like take me somewhere. And Journeys of Life in Shadyside. It's not there anymore, but it was like the crystal shop to go to in the city. And he took me there, and that's like I just started getting some crystals then, and like I used them. I probably started using them more when I started getting into like candle work and things, like as like allies and stuff. But for the most part, like they were just kind of a part of the process. I would take them to like yoga classes with me, blah, blah, like, you know, what everybody does with them basically. And I started the little shop because I was really wanting to open up a space maybe. So I wanted to like, and I had a vision for it, like a metaphysical shop in the front. Like I still see it actually, like a gallery space, and then like we would have events there, but it wasn't like a constant like weekly like yoga thing or something. But I had this like vision, like I want to mix my art, I want to mix you know, the yoga, all of that. So I was like, well, let me just start buying some crystals and selling them and like see what happens. So that's kind of just how that happened. It wasn't like it was like, there are definitely people out there that are like, crystals are their shit all the way. I am not that person, but like I kind of, you know, I'm not like that, but I still love it more maybe than the average person, and like I've worked with them. So I just told myself, because I wasn't like the crystal miner or this or that, like, okay, well, how can I do this ethically? And it was like, well, just get the shit that like you know about and have that. And when it comes to tarot, Onawa was a baby when I got my first deck, but I took this intuition course online before like online courses were like a big thing, and she used cards to help enhance like the intuition, and not to read them like tarot, but like to use your like looking at them and using your intuition immediately to like get the message for that person. So not necessarily the old archetypes had to really mean anything. And the cards that I use more frequently, like I have a more like classical imagery deck now, since I have like studied it a lot more since then, because I wanted to know. Like it's like, well, okay, F the old stuff, let me get my intuition like on deck first. But that's just how I am. Like I want to know, I want to absorb all the information. So but that deck, it wasn't so much of the imagery of tarot that's like scary. So you were able to like look at it and not be like, ooh, doom and gloom. And you can actually like pull the true meaning out of it. So I was just doing that for myself for years. I tried doing it a little bit with other people. I had like I just had been Reiki certified. This was like years ago when Alicia was still like, she had her own space right after she left B. I remember doing like even a session with Alicia where I pulled cards for her. So it's like something that I did like a long time ago, but wasn't feeling super secure of doing it for other people yet. Like I'm very hard on myself. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet. No, I'm not ready yet. No. So I was reading cards for myself for years before I was like, I'm just gonna start doing it. And if I'm being straight up, you know why I started? I started getting pissed off that everybody else was acting like they're gonna start reading tarot for other people as soon as they started doing it out of nowhere. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to give this a try, because why am I pissed about this? Like, because it's like I hold myself to a certain standard, and then like then I don't do the thing. And then when other people don't, they're just like, I'm entitled. I'll do whatever I fucking feel like. This feels good. I'm going to do it. Then I get fucking triggered. So it's like, bitch, if you want to do it, just do it then. You know?
I totally understand that too, and that holds you back too. I'm the same way.
I'm such a perfectionist, because it's like I don't want to tell someone wrong, and like people see tarot and they think different things. I'm not fortune telling. Fuck that. And I know there's people that can, you know, but it's just not me. So
you
it's
stay
like
in your lane.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna stay in my lane. I think it just took me time to figure it out, and I just didn't want to feel like a fraud doing it for people. Like, what if I get like stumped in the middle? So I am glad I did it the way I did, taking years of learning and doing all of that. But then at the same time, as soon as I started doing it, it just flows like butter, and I'm like, damn, why didn't I do this sooner? You know?
Well, and I respect that, because I think that it could also be like, I feel like a little dangerous if you're like, I'm reading tarot, like, come on, like, sit down. And then like you lay this spread out for someone and they see major arcana and they see like death and the tower and like, you know, they're like, oh my God, like and then like there's this impending doom, and then this person does something crazy. Like, you still have a responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know, and I just feel like you open yourself up to like some of the more unstable energies.
Absolutely.
If you're gonna do, like, come on, like, let's play. Like, it's not a play toy. Like,
No.
it isn't. And I mean, people, like, you can breed for yourself too. But I respect the way that you did it, because I think that you're taking into consideration other people's thoughts and lives, like, when you do it, and you're not just freaking someone out with what you pull.
Well, the person that I got, like, I have some like online trainings. I started listening to her podcast. Her name's Lindsay Mack, and she has like a lot of like, she does teach like the traditional, like, I'll read traditional meanings after reading like what she wrote about it, and it's like she is very good at like shifting this concrete thing and turning into, well, what's the energy behind this that you could be going through. So it's very, she says it, she's trauma informed, and like I was like, oh well, this is definitely what I want to do, because they are triggering. Like, well, for me now, like, ooh, tower. I used to hate pulling the tower. I mean, there was like a 6-month period I would pull a tower every day. I'm like,
you're like, why? I'm done.
I thought this was over with. I don't want to deal with this anymore. But like, just because it's a harsh imagery, well, that's life at the same time. But if you don't know how to explain it to someone in the right way, or if you don't have a lot of experience with that card yourself, like, how are you going to really not freak them out, especially if you're like future telling? Like, if you're trying to tell people what's happening in the 3D and you pull the death, what do you think you're gonna say if that's how you're doing it? You know?
You're like,
something bad's gonna happen.
Yeah, and no,
you know?
like, it is very common for me to pull the death card. And at first I'm like, oh God, here we go. Now I love it. I want to see it. I'm like, good, because something new is coming.
Something new.
Transformation's coming.
Yep.
I love this. But the imagery is so, in the traditional decks, it's scary, and it fucking says death. So you're like, great. This is terrible. But now, again, energy behind, like, it's something, like, to me, I'm excited. Something new's coming. I'm ready for whatever that's going to be. But also, real quick, like, do you feel that having a Reiki background has helped you with your readings at all? Like, because, you know, you're opening yourself up, you're more intuitive to the energies.
Yeah,
do you feel like that's helped?
I think so. I think, honestly, taking that intuition course really helped me too. Like, because she didn't do just cards. It was learning how to tap in and kind of be in that flow and like channel-y state, and just learning to trust myself. Reiki definitely taught me how to open up to other energies. So that was, I would say that it helped. And I just, it's hard to say, because like, I remember, I think this is why I kind of put them down. Like, when I'd even say I was like starting to read cards, like, people would be like, well, you might think those are your angels or your guides, but really that's a demon, you know, like, you know, them Catholics. Yeah. But even though, like, you know, the cards are Italian, and like, that's okay, I'm not gonna go down that road. Whatever. But yeah, I think that, like, I think it's just important to know what the fuck you're getting into, because it's really, to me, I have so many conflicting thoughts. My brain's going like, but this, but that, but this, but that. I feel like if you have reverence and you know what you're getting into, like, I'm specifically asking, especially like when I work with other people, and especially like if I'm like in the city and Market Square doing it, I'm like, think in whatever you believe in, God, your guides, spirits, angels, this could be ancestors, whoever you want information from when it comes to like guidance in your life. Keep that in your mind, you know, because it is true. There's spirits everywhere trying to cause a muck. It's as much as there's good, there's bad there. So it's like, when that lady said that to me, I was like, fuck. But honestly, kinda, she had a point, you know? Like, how do you know? I just trust, honestly, and like, okay, so then here it is. So, also the way that I interpret it. If I'm going to interpret something and it gets like really dark, like I feel like in that moment, then maybe I am probably getting influenced by an energy that I just opened myself up to, and that's how I'm navigating through that. Because I don't feel like, you know, like a situation is what it is, and like your perception and like where you want to like live in, basically, like do you want to be in like a God realm, or do you want to be in a hell realm in something? Do you want to navigate through? Do you want to find the healing in this, or do you want to find the hurt and the destruction? So I feel like if something starts to feel really doom and gloomy, which doesn't happen to me, but I feel like that would be for me a clear indicator that something's running amok, because I think that's how spirits, in my opinion, work.
I agree. And I think if anyone who is going into any type of spiritual practice, and this includes like the second you step foot in that church, it is where you're coming from. You are the vessel that is controlling the way that things are going to go. Like if you come from a place of love and light and goodness, then that's what you're going to get. But if you come from a fear-based place or a depressed space, you're allowing that. Like energetically, it's you as the vessel.
Yes.
And I think that as a practitioner of whether yoga, Reiki, cards, crystals, divination, like the blame gets put on you as like, oh, that person was so bad. Like they were bad energy. Like, no, motherfucker, it was you.
Yeah.
Because you are bringing that to an energy worker.
Yeah.
And then you're asking them to read for you, and it's you.
Yeah.
Just same thing with like people in the church. You go in there being fear. You know what we all get from that. But then I'm sure you've had some wonderful readings for people. You're like, oh my God, I'd read for this person every day. You know, they're so positive and they're so happy, and like everything, even the worst things that come out, they're like, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Like that's
And you know what? Like, something the whole time you're saying that, I just keep thinking, like, when it comes to the spiritual path, this shit isn't all love and light. So it's like, I don't know. I've been really thinking this year, like, I can't believe it's been almost a whole year since, like, I stepped away from, like, doing yoga in studios for the most part, and, like, you know, just kind of figuring out what the fuck. When it comes to me, like, as a facilitator, I'm like, I'm not like all the people who are preaching only love and light, because I don't believe that shit. I have been to the depths and darkness. I have done the underworld journey. I'll probably have a few more. And guess what? A part of me really likes it, you know?
Yeah, because
like,
you come out on the other side fucking empowered by
Yes.
that. It is not love and light. If you are with someone, I don't care what you're fucking doing with them, and they are this, everything's great, toxic fucking positivity, they're a fucking hack. They're a hack. And these people, I'm doing the work. No, the fuck, you're not doing the work.
Shut up, Crystal.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Dave's comment. I see you right on the microphone.
He's like, I'm ready to go.
Well, those people that do that, like on their social media and everything, it's all love and light. That's not how they're living their normal life at all. Like their normal life is not even remotely that.
Well, that can't be real. That's not
right.
life.
No.
Right. I can speak to that firsthand.
No, and it's just real life, and the people that I know to be true in the, you know, spiritual sector, they've had some of the worst shit happen.
Yeah.
Hard lives, trauma, and they own it, but they've done the shadow work.
Yeah.
And not just saying like, I'm working on myself, I'm doing work. No, you don't. No one sits there and goes, hey guys, I'm doing my shadow work this week. I'm going to be working on that. No, like you drop off, you fall off, and you go internal, and then you just come out better.
Yeah.
And with changed behavior on the other side.
And then when it comes to social media, and this is something that kind of fucked me up, I think, a little bit, is, well, okay, number one, it's a highlight reel for everybody. Like, even the people that are the realest, like, people still don't know everything that's going on in my life, and I, you know, usually lay shit out pretty, you know, point blank, you know. But what I have noticed when I do that, or like I am talking about my shadow work when I'm going through it and trying to be a leader in the, like, you know, the spiritual sector, whatever, it was like, oh, not that, I don't really know what people think, but I did get the energy, and I know some people had thought, like, almost like I couldn't be taken seriously, or they were like, it was just like a huge turnoff to hear that shit, or like, she's a mess.
Yes.
Well, like, motherfucker, am I though? Because like me and Alicia talked about this, about like, oh, Devin, she's so wild. Am I though? Like, because I'm honest and straight up, I guess technically I am, but when it comes to like what people think wild is and what they put that label on me as, like, oh, Devin's out drinking and dancing and doing this and cussing, blah blah, I bet she is off doing some shit. No, I'm not. I go home and go to bed, is what I do. You know,
it's just people that get uncomfortable with themselves. That's like a reflection of their own, like,
which is a lot of this community.
Well, because it's not genuine.
Yeah.
It's not real, and it's not with pure intent. It's the intent of culture vulture. I want to look like the Messiah here, and I'm going to take advantage of this being a popular thing, when really, like, you are meant to be, people are messy. Our lives are fucking messy, and it's not linear, it's not uphill, it's not always like this high plateau, and people are super judgy of seeing like the messiness.
Yeah, but that's being human, and isn't that the whole fucking point? So it's always like, well,
but you're right, if you go on social media and you're like, well, you know, like, again, it's very hard to use it like as a blog or a vlog, be like, well guys, today I'm really depressed and today's a down day, and like I am kind of poking fun of that, but that's what it would be.
Yeah,
you know, you'd be all over the place and opening yourself up to put that out, but that doesn't sell.
No,
and
like,
doesn't look good.
And as much as like I want to be open for like the lows, then it's like, but I don't want nobody's fucking pity. I don't want somebody feeling sympathy for me. Like, ooh, I don't like that. I don't like the way that feels. Like, I want to be seen for sure, but for someone to be like, oh, Devin, she's had such a hard life. Excuse me? Like, I can only say that. You cannot.
I think that's actually a big thing that should be said about shadow work, or like fixing those things or whatever, but you need to admit it and talk about it, but that doesn't mean dwell in it. That doesn't mean use it as an excuse to keep holding you back. You deal with it so that you can move forward.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is you can't say you're doing shadow work and working through your things, but we're not going to talk about the negative things that I have either done or been through.
Ooh,
that
and not acknowledging those things,
saying I'm moving on. I'm moving on, and we're not talking about this again. That's not putting in any work at all.
And also, you don't get to decide that, especially like if your transgressions have caused pain or, you know, a disturbance in someone else's life. Part of that shadow work is sitting in that discomfort and knowing that, like, I hurt people, or I was negligent in a situation, or I was careless in a situation, and that fucking sucks.
Yeah, but
like,
growth is almost always on the other side of discomfort.
And it's change behavior. So as many times as people say, you know, I'm different, I'm going to be different, or I used this to help me, or I did this and it, you know, did that, like, and this made me so different. Like, I'll use, you know, plant medicines.
Bitch, it's been a week.
Yeah. Number one, it's been a fucking week or a month, but your behavior hasn't changed. And again, social media, I'm rebranding myself.
Well,
also, I do have to say real quick, going through the emotions online, saying it doesn't sell isn't always true. I think it's about how you go about it, how genuine it is, and how you can actually relate that to the masses. Because I think Aubrey Marcus does a really good job of it. Owner of On It, also really into plant medicine and everything else. He actually sold On It. But anyway, he goes through those things. Like, I mean, he was just in a horrific car accident. He went through the whole thing. He was supposed to get plastic surgery, didn't get plastic surgery. But if you're genuine in it and you're making it appeal to the masses, then it's still a good thing to do.
See, that's the part that bothers me, is making it appeal to the masses, because it's like, and I get why, listen, I get it, the whole, like, you know, making things marketable, making things, but it's like, what about just some raw fucking expression, you know, because that's, and I know Instagram's changed a lot, but like the whole time I've ever used Instagram, for me, because I was, you know, I was doing art before I was doing yoga. So for me, it's like, well, this is the way that I want to express this, and this is like my authentic expression of it. So whatever. And like the thing is people in other places do, like, it does appeal to them. But like I feel like people in this area, for me, they were just kind of like, well, that's not true, because obviously a lot of people have.
well, but
connected with me over it.
But think of this, like most people go to social media for dissociative purposes, right?
Yep.
We want to look away from pain and negativity, and we want to disconnect. So, there's several
so
different
many
avenues.
things.
Like for Aubrey, marketing, you've got endorsement deals, you've got an audience, so you do have to put it in a neater, more compartmentalized package in order to there has to be like a shred in the back of the mind of like, I have a brand that I have to give to.
What I truly meant by that was on, because I also said genuine.
Yes.
So yeah, you're putting it out there, but also in order to help the most amount of people, if that's what your purpose is, and using it isn't just, then you're not doing it for you. So you being as raw as possible isn't for them, it's
Right,
for
it's
you.
I was about to say, well, it's probably just for me then.
so if your goal is to help people, then you have to figure out how to help it reach
Yes.
those people.
And you don't want to be triggering.
Right.
You don't want to like trauma dump on someone and like be like, I just got broken up with. Oh God, this is what we're doing.
Number
because
one.
then people will watch. We'll be deep in them comments.
Yeah, we'll be deep.
I will be deep in those
If
comments.
we're not in the
okay.
comments, we'll
At
be
least I'm
talking
not
about
that
it.
Oh yeah, there's a side message going on. 100%. But yeah, there's just so many different ways. But I feel like if someone's being genuine, you know it.
Yeah.
You feel it. You're like,
feel
wow, this is raw for them. Whereas if this is the same shit that someone posts on a cycle,
You can tell when someone's impulsively posting and when they've reflected on it and they're like, oh, like, okay, here's the nugget of truth of this thing that maybe I'm not all the way out of it yet, but this is something that it was like big for me to see, and then here it is. I think over time I got better at doing that, like taking more time, between like sharing and oversharing.
There's been a shift.
There has been a shift. Well, know what the shift honestly was getting the fuck out of the community. Not trying to be like that, but it was like I was getting triggered so much. I was trying to heal my PTSD. There was just like a lot happening. I just was constantly in fight or flight to really just pull away and figure like, oh, I'm just very sensitive. Like if I'm around people and things aren't authentic and I feel something's going on, it will just make me, I can't do it. I need to be alone a lot of the time. Me and Dave were just talking about that. I was like, for me to function like at my highest, ability to actually reach people, to help people, to be clear, I need to get all that fucking shit out and figure out like what's Devin here? Mm-hmm. What's Devin? Not Devin reacting to this person or that person. What's Devin? What's Devin as a yoga teacher? Yogurt almost came out.
yoga teacher, I would come to that class.
Oh yes.
But it's also
yogurt.
very like tough too. Like I'm like you. The spidey senses are real, and if there is a shift in that energy, no bueno. It's not even happening. And like I feel like I'm finally finding my community of people that like I can be myself. Mm-hmm. I don't feel depleted when I leave them. I trust them. But it's been very hard in this community because you have to decipher like who it is and like navigate this. And I don't like that. Like I want to be able to just show up, know that these are good people, feel that, and then like move about my day.
So like to bring this back around to like the yoga point of like, what do I do as a facilitator to keep people coming back and blah, blah. Well, this, like you said, it is an ancient practice. This has been around forever. Like the most popular ways of doing yoga like worldwide are actually a specific series, and you do the same thing every single time, because it isn't about the teacher, but we make it about the teacher and what they make you feel. But really it's supposed to be like we're all just kind of on this path. We're all on different points of the path, but we're going to come here and just like do this thing together and have a guide. Not that I don't like the creativity parts of like doing flow. obviously I
You
love
are
that
flow.
shit. But
That's you.
But it's like, I think that's kind of a problem too, of like, well, I have to be this thing for people to come, or I have to have all these nuggets of wisdom, and people push that so much to the point where people who do have strong spidey senses do feel like this isn't authentic, this isn't in alignment. And, you know, at the end of the day, like every single person in this community, whether they're leaders in it or not, are all still healing. We're never going to stop healing. And that's another thing too. You can't go on social media and say, I healed this thing.
No, you didn't.
Probably not if it was that big of a deal that you're saying it. And because
it's been a week, bitch.
But it's like we have karmic debt. Like the big things that I have that I've been like, oh, this is like a karmic thing for me. It's hard for me to break out of. It's like kind of even how like my traumas in life have unfolded, and that's why it's my karmic debt. Like I might be dealing with different versions of this my entire life. So for me to say I learned this thing, I've overcame it, oh my God, to say that out loud would be catastrophic to me, because I'm like, the universe is gonna be like, oh right then, bitch.
It's like taking a book
Let's
to a
do
bug.
something. Yep.
Bam! Like the second you're like, I've reached the mountaintop. No, the fuck you have not. Then that's when you look, you're like, oh, never mind. There's the next one. Like it's gonna be, yeah. Like
It's like celebrate your wins, but
like I've improved. I'm aware.
yeah.
I've come this far, and I'm proud of myself, because you should say that. And on any level of healing, whether it is just the tiniest, like, I don't talk negatively about myself anymore. Oh my God,
That's
like,
a lie.
celebrate
Anybody.
that.
Well,
like,
I was gonna say, well, that can be a lie for anybody, because the moments I'm like, well, I'm much better, but that voice ain't ever going away. It's in there somewhere. Like we have an inner critic. It's a part of our like.
well, don't you think, like, when we come here, and I'm gonna get real like out there, so whatever.
Let's
But
do
like
it.
when you come to this world, when you come to play here in this
Spiritual.
Or
reality,
whatever.
this reality, you sign up to deal with certain tasks.
Absolutely.
And that's your whole point of being here is, I want to go and sign up to have abusive parents and have a shit life. And it's really going to help me work on patience and understand. They're like, yep, all right. Like I saw a TikTok the other day, and it was like, they said, okay, and how many years you're going to sign up for this life, and you're only going to live for 30 years. And how do you want to die? Do you want to drown? Do you want to have this? Do you want to have that? And, here, this is who your husband's going to be. And this is what they're going to teach. And I thought, that really is what it is. Like, you get to go into this life because you somewhere karmically you chose to come here.
Yep.
Because you chose to want to work
To
on
elevate
something.
your soul so that like you can, because I do feel like we're always kind of who we are anyway. Like we might forget our past lives, but we elevate to a certain degree, and then we elevate. I mean, that's why they say reincarnation. So it's like, eventually, how many lifetimes does it take? I do believe in that. And I saw a medium, not to trigger warn, but like, after Adam passed away, and she had mentioned something about like a soul contract between the two of us. And I had really got to think, because, well, like, I let a lot of stuff happen that I don't think I would ever let happen now at all, which was something I needed to learn. But it was interesting. Once, like, I literally birthed my daughter, the way our relationship changed, it was just different. Like, I felt like it was almost like I couldn't let him go. Like, I didn't understand why. Like, all this bad shit could happen, but, like, I think I truly made a soul contract to be, like, for his life, because he passed away, like, early, was like, I was his life partner. I was his anchor for so many years. And then his gift to me is what she said to me, the medium, was my daughter. And now I look at my life now, and I make, even my decision to leave him and move back here, all of my hardest decisions that I've made that have like made me stronger and made my life better was for my daughter. So it's like, that I do believe that, because I'm seeing how it's kind of playing out. So it's like, why would I have ever signed up to like do all of that? Because who knows what would have happened to me if I didn't sign up to do all that and have my daughter, and now look at me now,
And a purpose other than self-pleasure is always going to push you to better places.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think when
To
you're
3D that down.
Yeah, to 3D. Let's come all the way back down. Sorry, guys. But yeah, when you're here, like that's self-pleasure is such a basic, like just basic cerebral instinct, like the mouse seeking the cheese, if you will. And yeah, it feels good, but I think every time you kind of like take another step and break out of that and break away from that, you do feel so much better. You feel so much better. And you just look back and I mean, you know, for me, like I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I did that. Like, and I thought that I was in a good spot then, but like, no, I wasn't. And also, I mean, it's tough too. Like the healing process is tough when, you know, you shed any type of relationship.
Absolutely.
And
oh my God. Yes.
It's horrible. And the friendships are harder than the romantic relationships.
Man,
so much harder.
That's something I really had to learn over the past couple years. But like, I just feel like I had this cycle, like for my karmic debt, I was just seeing it with men. And then once I was like waking up enough and like, you know, having more like noticing how my energy was in business, how my energy was in relationships, I was like, oh my God, it's happening again.
Yeah, because did you find out that it was like similar? You're like, God damn it. Like I lack the same boundaries.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
The relationships with like a sexual partner are just base fucking level.
Right.
And then you start to see it everywhere in your life. You're like, oh, look, I'm a spineless bitch with no boundaries.
Literally.
Walk all over me, please.
It's like, I don't let men do it anymore. I'm healed. See, there was a moment of like, I'm good now. Oh, really? Okay, now let's see what happens to your career, Devin.
Just kidding. I'm going to let my boss do it now.
I'm going to let my friends do it. I'm going to let this person. And then, you know, boundary. I hate saying no to people. I'm like, I was making a joke to another friend the other day. Don't make me say no. Because it's like, I hate saying no. I want to help people. Like, I know what it's like to need help and not want to ask for it. Like, so I love to, like, give so that people feel safe. Like, I know... You know, but then there's me. It's like, I don't fucking ask for help. I don't ask nothing for nobody. And then I overgive to everybody. And then I'm like, oh my God, my whole life is revolving around other people again. Shit.
And
How'd
then
that
as soon as you start saying no, though, it feels so good and it's so easy. Like it really gets so much easier to say no.
And then it's fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the sooner you do it, the easier it is too. Because it's like, that's another thing. Like my tolerance for bullshit is much, you know, lower now. Like I'm just, like even like just being single and trying to like date or like Hinge, like any little red flag, I'm like, Like, man, if someone lasts 2 weeks even talking to me, they're lucky. Because I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, get out of here. You're just walking red flag, which really probably maybe not so much, but like boundaries are so important to me because I'm still practicing them. I'm still learning them.
And boundaries are never done. Like I used to think like I'm going to set boundaries and this is going to be so great because it's going to just instantly apply to every like sector of my life. No.
Nope.
It does not. And they're so hard
because it's very nuanced and they can change and it's like it just really depends on what's going on with the energy and
then
like,
you
where
get the
you
guilt from other people. Be like, what do you mean? Like you said I could call you anytime. Well, I'm telling you no now. Like and then you get gaslit and you feel guilt and shame and repeats the whole like cycle down. But I think boundaries
like anytime, but don't abuse it.
Yeah, like I said anytime. God damn,
it's been like, 5 times today.
Yeah. Like, I can't do this. But that like people pleasing. And like, again, I'm going to refer back to like our community because I think that within our community of people, like we're, at least for me, like I can look at other people and like get little gems of information and knowledge, like watching someone else go through something and then it resonates and you're like, oh, like that's happened to them, but that like resonates with me. Or like how... Is he snoring? I think he's snoring. Anyways, how people are like conquering a situation and how that, you know, trickles down to my life. But I think that's what community.
Yeah, I think that's good having a community because it shouldn't just fall on one other person. Like even when you're in a romantic relationship, you can't expect all of your needs to be met by this one person, right? Huh. So like,
he's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
But being able to like fall back, like have multiple people if you are going through something or need something, because not everyone, you can't pour from an empty cup.
But could you imagine like telling your like 18-year-old self, like, it's okay for your significant other to have friends and talk to other people? Absolutely not. I'm your one and only. You will only talk to me.
I feel lucky in the fact that I've never had that issue.
Oh yeah, be lucky.
Yeah, like that's just never been I'm never like, don't talk to that person. Like even if I know something about that person, I'll be like, hey, just be aware of this, and I'll continue about your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really lucky to not have to have experienced that.
I probably should experience that. It'd probably help me in some.
Well, I think given some life experiences that have happened, that now you may establish a new boundary.
I did want to say, like in the community that you guys are talking about, which is kind of like the spiritual community. It is a beautiful space and also can be a very toxic space, just because there is an easy ability to be that fake person within that space. So I feel like you really have to learn how to read people and pick your people in that community, because when you find the right ones, it's the most beautiful thing. But when you let somebody creep in that is not on there, it can just fucking wreck you.
Cancer in the community.
I was thinking, you just said that very beautifully, and when you were talking about like having, different people, and I'm thinking, well, what is community? I had somebody do a reading with me, and they asked like how to find their community. They actually had a lot of reverse cards. I really didn't have a real answer for them, because what it turned into, which I think it applies here, is like, what are your needs for a community? And like, are you coming from a needy place searching for your community? In my experience, when I was deeply needing community, I needed it. It wasn't a desire of like, want. It was like root chakra. It was like, I need this, not like I just want this because it's like good for me. Same thing with relationships that are more intimate. Like, is this coming from a place, I need this, I'm gripping, or want. So then it's like very easy to like not recognize those signs, or when you see the signs, stay around longer, because it is a need, and you're gripping so much because it's like, I have to have this thing. But for me, what happened was like, it's like sand in the hands. Like, it's no matter how hard I tried, it was still all slipping out of my grasp, and I just didn't feel like connected. Like, I remember when I came over to take pictures and I messaged you after, it's like, Sarah, I always thought you hated me, but I always wanted you to like me, and like, we're super, like, we vibe so well. But I was like, she probably thinks I just like, well, that was bitch face as well, but also there was more to that.
Part of the community that we were in. And I have major trust issues, and if this is a boundary for me that I used to feel really guilty setting, and I no longer do, is if you fuck with someone I don't fuck with,
I'm not sure about
out.
this. Yeah.
You are out. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. If I set this boundary and I go, this person is an absolute no-no, I want them to have no contact to my life.
Yeah.
And you are a bridge. If you're in my life and you're in this fucking piece of shit's life, you're a bridge.
I mean, I feel ya.
You're out, and it's nothing against you in a negative way. It's just, to me, you're on your own. And then when you figure that out, you come on back.
Yep.
But that is something that for me was invaluable to learn.
Right.
And then look, like, when you're meant to find your people.
Yep.
When the cancer's gone, you find it.
Yep.
Like, it works itself out in these like really magnificent ways. It just, you have to do it to be safe. You have to safe group, safe space.
When it comes to fucking with people that you don't fuck with, something that I've recently realized is definitely the people to stay away from, the people that preach all about this certain way of life, or you don't do this or you don't do that, but they accept it from this person because this person is their friend and they wouldn't do it to them. Okay, but yeah, you still consider it shitty things. So whether you think they'll do it to you or not, why is it okay?
Oh yeah, they're gonna do it to you.
Yeah. That's something big that's a new boundary that I'm learning to put too. And I think I just had to completely remove myself for a while and then kind of see, like, now look at how things are kind of falling into place. Because like, once I set some boundaries and I felt very hurt at the time, there were people who knew everything that was going on, expressed similar things and we're still just doing the same old shit. And then I'm like, oh, now I feel like I can't trust you. So like, you know, you obviously had that boundary set sooner, but like I could feel that there was something, you know. And for me, like one of my like core wounds is like I've always felt like it's hard. Community is hard for me, and it was hard to be accepted because I went to a Catholic school with a mother who was out of the closet. So you can only imagine what my life was like for a while there. So you know,
you were blacklisted immediately.
Oh, and that was in this area. So
she's not a child of God. Her mother is a
sinner.
I know in religion
muncher.
class they're saying how my mother's going to go to hell, and I'm like, well, they don't say that specifically, but gay people go to hell, and I'm like, excuse me?
You're like, wait a minute.
This is awkward. My mom's really nice. Why does she have to go to hell? I don't understand.
That's exactly why I got out of religion, because I used to be super religious. I went to 3 different churches by choice. I was Bible memory verse, all of it, and they kept telling me that my dad was going to go to hell. I'm like, you mean the most generous, kind man I've ever met in my life? Just because he doesn't believe in a magical wizard, he has to go to a bad place? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in your sky daddy.
Yeah.
It's out.
And then I start to realize that it is, I forget, I wanted to bring it up earlier, but I forget what the conversation was, but it's such a fear-based religion.
Yes.
It's all it is. It's fear, and if you do what we want you to, and you live by our rules, then you get rewards.
Well,
but anything else,
like how do you control people the best way? Like fear. So in religion, if you don't do this, you go to hell, eternal damnation. Relationships, if you don't do A, B, C, D, I will leave you. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, even with friendships or in a, you know, community-based thing, we're going to establish doubt and fear in Devin's abilities to do things.
Yeah.
yeah,
Therefore ostracizing. I mean, it's all fear as a form of manipulation.
And what's interesting when it's like applied to religion, it's like, okay, so what do we think demons are? You know, fear, doubt, uncertainty, all of those things. That's how they come in and play. So it's very interesting that there are religions who are teaching God, but they're using demonic forces to get people to listen to them. And if we talk about like root chakra, even chakras, they say the demons of each, there's like energetic, you know, quote unquote demons of each one. Fear is for the root chakra, which is the lowest chakra. It's the most 3D. It's keeping people at their lowest potential to be stuck there and blocked there because they can't rise and even be, if we're technically wanting to have all of our chakras cleared to be connected with God, we can't even connect with God if we're scared. We can't.
But you cannot be a free thinker.
Right.
If you're withheld at that lower level.
Right. Oh, there's no space for it. All your energy is getting pulled down to this survival piece. Mm-hmm.
Look at that connection.
Ooh.
God damn it. Look
And
at us go.
okay, sorry about being like religion using demonic forces. That was pretty intense. But I mean,
we're just, listen, I don't even fucking care. And I like, fuck them. Because seriously, fuck them. The shit that is the vitriol that is preached within the religious communities, and I know that there's an exception. I know that there's good people and everything, and if you're really that good person, I'm not talking about you. But to sit there and say, you know, this person, they're a really great person, but they're gay. Or, they're a really great person, but they've been divorced. Who the fuck you?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And that's being pretty, like, that's your human brain coming in and using religion to push your human agenda.
Yeah.
Like, this is my judgments rooting from something.
That's
and
Emma's
I'm gonna
ego
say,
too, because you're like, I'm better than you if
Absolutely.
you don't follow these rules.
Like, you're not better. You rape your fucking wife every night and force her to be a broodmare. You say it. She's a fucking broodmare. And you guys hate each other. And your fucking kids are getting molested at church. But everything's okay. Because we're not bumping uglies with the fucking same sex. Like, come on
God
now.
forbid scissoring. Sorry, once you went like this, that's all I could think of.
I just heard somebody talk about the fact that Jesus was obviously a gay man.
I think
He
we
was.
heard that.
Definitely. Jesus was real. He definitely was. Like beautiful. He's
He was
followed around by men.
He was the prettiest man in the
Yes.
area. He
Ripped.
The prettiest man in the area.
Ripped up.
he was never with any women. He hung out with nothing but men. He turned water into not beer but wine.
Has anyone read the book? It's like The Secrets or something, or the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. I haven't read
Heard
it
of
yet.
it.
But
Okay,
I really
just saw
want to.
someone talking about this, and I was like, I'm really interested in that because, again, anything that's like against the grain, I'm like, yes, I need to know more about this. But women empowerment,
Well,
where did all the women go? Like,
It's interesting. I listened to the Goop podcast about it years ago. It's like, I'm buying this book, still haven't. Maybe we could read it together. Let's do it.
Yes.
But from what I can recall, it was like there was a text that wasn't put in the Bible that was like her writings, and she was kind of like the divine feminine counterpart to Jesus, and it was like without like that piece was almost like the more feminine flow of like the divine of the two. So I'm super interested.
Is that was removed, right?
Yeah, and I
Eventually,
believe that
that's what I
she
heard of that.
continued on like almost like a high priestess after he, went back up.
I guarantee it. First of all, the most original writings of the Bible aren't in the Bible. They're the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're not included in the Bible. I don't know what they say. I just know they're not in there. I also know that in Constantinople, a bunch of religious leaders got together and pick and chose what they decided was going to be in the Bible. And these are just historical facts.
Well, I
men.
was watching someone else talk about
Kind of the worst.
Yahweh, because Yahweh is God,
Yeah.
and like ancient script, and it was Yahweh's wife, and I forget what her name was, but they were talking about her and the reference to her role in religious context, and they're being
It's like
YAWEH, Yahweh,
and then I feel my friend used to always like say Yahweh for things. Yeah, there it is.
yeah, who's Yahweh's wife? Asherah. Yes, that's it. God had a wife. That's what fuck it was. God had a wife. God had a wife. God had a wife.
Of course he did. You think he could keep it together by himself? He's a man.
Yes. So I'm very interested in this too, because we know that the King James version is the one that everyone reads, and it's not accurate. It's not complete. It's so manipulated, but I'm very, very interested in this as well because there's new evidence talking about her role. So yeah, we gotta read the
book.
Yeah, we gotta read the book. That's a book I can get down with the book club for.
Hell yeah.
What are you
Get
gonna-
down with the book club.
Get down with the book
Down
club.
with the book club.
Well, that her friend has like a little book club started. What were you guys reading? Braiding Sweetgrass.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And at first I was like really interested in that, and then she was like, it's really slow, and I was like, yeah, fuck that, I'm out. No disrespect to the book, because it does sound really, 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 really interesting. I need like historical autobiography, biography. Like I need
Something that's like
tangible evidence, like factual based, not like.
What is factual based? It's just like very
the-
descriptive
The
and just
wheatgrass
slow.
blew and the wind and.
Oh, that's like
I've been reading.
somebody told me to read that Fahrenheit 451 because it's supposed to be great, and I started reading. I'm like, this dude's been talking for 3 pages about the sidewalk.
Oh God.
I
can't do it.
I'm done.
Like, bro,
Like, were you on acid when you wrote this book? Or?
maybe that's the life hack. Maybe that's how we need to incorporate some plant medicines and then try to read
Yes.
Braiding Sweetgrass. Because speaking of plant medicines, are you doing Aya? Do you have interest in Aya or?
I don't know. Okay, so here's how I feel. I have a really hard time seeing that go well for me.
Sounds like
Well, okay, yeah, because I felt that
I
way
don't
too.
like to feel sick. Even just feeling sick could turn me down a whole rabbit hole. Now, I've been microdosing for a while. Sometimes I go a little like higher in my microdose, so it's more like a low dose, and I'm good. Like I'm like, whoa, I'm doing way better than I thought I would do. Because as soon as I start to feel out of control, I normally freak out. So like my early 20s, like doing mushrooms, and I never got to the point where it was like breakthrough of like seeing shit, but like I would get that, you know, that overwhelming like birthing feeling that happens where it's like, oh, everything's contracting and then it bursts open. I would not be okay. I'd be like, because I'd just grip and I'd resist. And I know that means it's probably best for me to do it, but I'm also like, I don't know. I've been like, not to be like, I've been through so much, I don't want to do that, but like for real, like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if my nervous system like wants to do that.
Yeah,
and,
you're
like,
not ready.
I don't know if
ready.
I don't know if I'll ever be ready. I'm like, I kind of just want to like, you know, go to therapy and figure things out about myself and like microdose. This
little
is like
more
safe way.
conventional.
Yeah, but
She's like, I'll pass on
Which
that.
is which is crazy coming from one of the most unconventional people I know.
I was about to say, like, isn't it? See how wild can I really be?
She wants to just do regular therapy, guys.
I mean, I think about it, and I know that it. Who knows what would happen to me after? I mean,
if you're not ready, it's a definite bad idea.
Yeah.
But like, would I ever be though? You know, like I feel like at this point, I'm probably pretty close to being ready. Like, if I'm ever gonna be, like, I with all the work and all the tools that I have, like I feel like I have a really good foundation to go into it. But still, like, how long does it last? Like hours? Like that is like wild to me. Like, what if this is a bad trip for 6 hours? Like throwing like
6 hours, you silly.
was it longer than that?
Well, what was it?
Well, if she didn't do the second dose, it would only be like 6 hours. They usually do one, and then halfway through they do another, so it lasts like 8.
I was gonna say,
to
it seems
10.
like most people's experiences are 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
I really have this theory, you know, with all my fucking experience, 2 ceremonies, but I really have this theory that the more resistant and the more you try to like sink into control, the worse your experience is.
Which is, I think, is what's going to happen to me. So that's why I'm like, I'm trying to get to a point where I can like release a little bit of that. Like, I don't know, maybe I should try to like do a bunch of mushrooms first instead, but since that's something I've already been working with, so then maybe I would be less resistant to it and then see how I do. But like, I know that like that's the worst thing to do. And I mean, but that was 10 years ago. That's the thing. I'm talking about Devin when I was 20 with a bunch of people. Let's do some mushrooms while we're canoeing.
And a completely
Canoes
different.
flipped. I'm like, what happened to these people? I don't even like swimming. I have a drowning phobia. And I'm like, what if mine flips the whole time? And everybody, it was all peaceful eventually, and they got out. They're like swimming, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay in the canoe and stare at bugs on this rock. Like, I mean, I was fine then, but still, like, there was a point. I mean, I joked my way out of it, but I was freaking out. I was like, to my boyfriend at the time, like, get in this canoe. I'm freaking out. We need to get, for some reason, I'm like, we just need to get back on the water. Like, I'm feeling like freaked out. Let's get on the water.
She's safe on the water.
I need to go where my fear of phobia of drowning is at its highest.
Right? And then all of a sudden, I just went, like, I was like, I'm freaking out. And he's like, dude, like, he didn't know how to handle me. And then I, like, was looking at the water, and I was like, what if there was an anaconda in here? And, like, after that, I was fine.
I would have
makes no sense.
Died laughing at you.
Listen, if you ever do Aya, though, like, I can't wait to hear about it, because I feel like it would be wild.
Environment and intention are huge.
That's
what
exactly
I mean. Like,
what I
that
was
was
gonna
not
say,
the set and
Crystal.
setting at all for that.
Right. You were back then. You were taking it to like have a good time instead of using it as medicine.
And I had never really done it that much before, so it was also like
That strong and like
I
new to
was
you.
like just like kind of waiting for sensations and kind of nervous and on water, and everyone's like, oh, whatever. I'm like, y'all are irresponsible. I'm getting kind of freaked out.
I did so many hallucinogens in high school just to party, and I mean, I never had a bad experience. They were always fun, but since I've started doing them as I've gotten older and use them as medicine, it's a completely wildly different experience.
And I feel like, of course, like the people you're around, and I feel like sometimes I'm like, as much as I trust the people I'm around, what happens when I do this? And then all of a sudden I don't anymore. And then I'm like,
That actually should have been a very big clue for me. The last time I did mushrooms, I had to get away from the person I was doing them with I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm just going to go roam the neighborhood. And that's exactly what I did.
Just wondering.
Much better looking at houses than looking at you.
Yeah, that was
Should have been a big sign.
Red flag.
hindsight.
Yeah, hindsight 2020.
Clearly, I'm paranoid and I'm grippy. So
Paranoid and grippy. Is that
grippy, yeah, I'm like gripping, gripping to control. I hate to like it's so funny because you're like, you are so unconventional. I'm such a free spirit, but there are certain things that I'm like a fucking control freak about.
Well, that's your anchor. Can you imagine if you didn't have those anchors?
I know.
Like, you'd be just, I mean,
Who knows?
roaming around for real. Like, just really wilding out. I don't know what you would be doing.
I don't know. If I think of my old neighborhood, me and my brother are the only two that got out not on drugs. Like, so.
Was that neighborhood Steubenville?
No, it was the little projects in Weirton. So it was like not like crime, but there was like a bunch of like white addicts who would like break into our house and stuff from my brother's like Weir's Adderall and shit. So
yeah, that's the difference. Like Weirton doesn't have like, we'll say, quote unquote gangsters. They have the addicts.
Yeah, they have the addicts. Yeah. It's like in Pittsburgh going up to like Allentown or Carrick or something, I feel like, versus like going to like the hood.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's just kind of on meth or something. Or I don't know those drugs, so I don't know what they're on because I don't
meth,
know the
you'd
warning
be pretty
signs.
sure if there was just a bunch of people on meth, you'd know what was going on. You'd be like, Jesus.
Well, and thankfully for that, we're not on that route, and we are just even scared to do, the big plant medicine. So
I'm scared. Yeah.
Scared. We've conquered that.
Yes.
I don't mean to like hastily wrap up or anything.
Oh yeah.
But we're at an hour, and
we're past an hour.
I definitely want to have you. We got to do this again.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, because usually I really want to get into like just like I don't know a lot about like you growing up and stuff, and a lot that's what we like to talk about. So next time you're on, we definitely gotta.
Devin is a complex
Yes,
creature.
she is.
There's a lot of layers.
We're just.
And I was just
surface.
giving you guys a countdown. We're actually at an hour 20, but you guys can go as long as you want. I don't care.
She has an endeavor.
An engagement.
An
She has an
engagement.
engagement.
You're already
Which she usually
married,
doesn't
man.
ever leave the house, so I'm actually
I
proud
don't leave the house. I'm venturing out. It is fucking January.
I actually did want to say to Devin real quick too about like she wanted you to like her, but like it's hard to tell, especially in a public setting, if Sarah likes you because Sarah's wall in public is her face.
Right.
Yeah, this is why I need Botox again.
She
Immediately.
just like I'll never forget. We were actually at Empowered for like the opening or something like that, and Sarah was just sitting up against the wall with her.
That's what I'm
mean mugging.
imagining. That's what I'm imagining when I said that. That's where I saw you.
Well, I'm going to
And
let you know that when I am out and I am uncomfortable, all I can imagine, like, daggers. Away. Yeah, that's, and then I'm like, if you come into that, I'm like, okay. All right, come on.
And so, like, you are such a Scorpio rising, aren't you?
I really am.
I always felt like with Lisa too, I'd say to her, I was like, I know that you have a wall, and it's like one day I'll break through it, and you're like, on your time. Like, I'm always like, on your time. She's like, oh, okay.
She's like,
You're like, never. No.
okay, yes, we're doing this again.
Yes.
Longer talks, because God damn it, how dare I do something social? It's terrible.
How dare you?
How dare I?
Thank you, Devin, for being on and being
Thank you
our
for
guest
having
today.
me. I
we
love
have to have you
chatting.
bring art with you the next time.
Yeah.
So
Ooh,
I do want
okay.
people to see your art.
Ooh, yeah, I'll bring
Very,
some of the
very
OGs.
Yeah, well, this is great. You've now entered into the elite
sect?
category, the sect. Yes, the elite sect that is return guest.
Ooh, yay.
We only really love you. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. It's a fucking joke because somebody's gonna take that. No, you didn't ask me to come again. Like that's not. I'm just joking. I didn't mean that. No, I really am. I'm just joking. If you get to come on this podcast,
Then she likes.
I like you. Well,
Enough.
there's or
Oh
I'm.
gosh, there's
Kind of.
I don't even give a fuck. There's one person that if I could delete their fucking episode, I would. Because fuck you. Fuck you. All right. We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.